Clear Thinking, written by Rolf Debelly, provides insights into how cognitive biases and mental traps impact our ability to think clearly and make rational decisions. Through a series of essays, Debelly aims to help readers recognize common pitfalls in their thinking, such as confirmation bias, overconfidence, and the sunk cost fallacy. He introduces various strategies for avoiding these traps and developing a more disciplined, logical approach to thinking. The book serves as a guide to clearer, more accurate decision-making in personal and professional life. Key themes in Clear Thinking: cognitive biases. Cognitive biases are unconscious errors in thinking that affect judgments and decisions. Debelly highlights several biases that frequently cloud our perception, leading us to make decisions based on flawed reasoning. Mental shortcuts and heuristics. Mental shortcuts, or heuristics, are strategies we use to simplify decision-making. While these can be helpful in some situations, Debelly warns that relying too heavily on shortcuts often leads to incorrect assumptions and decisions. Rational decision-making. Clear thinking requires intentional effort to approach problems logically, set aside emotional influences, and evaluate evidence objectively. Awareness and discipline. Debelly stresses that by cultivating awareness of mental traps and practicing disciplined thinking, we can train ourselves to avoid biases and make more thoughtful, accurate decisions. Detailed summary of key concepts. 1. Recognizing cognitive biases. Debelly introduces several common cognitive biases, explaining how each one distorts our view of reality. Some of the biases he covers include confirmation bias, the tendency to seek information that confirms existing beliefs while ignoring evidence that contradicts them. This bias often leads us to form one-sided perspectives. Debelly suggests actively searching for opposing views as a way to counteract confirmation bias. Overconfidence bias. People tend to overestimate their abilities, knowledge, and predictions, which can lead to poor decisions, especially in uncertain situations. Debelly emphasizes humility and a realistic assessment of one's knowledge and expertise as antidotes to overconfidence. Sunk cost fallacy. This is the inclination to continue investing time, money, or effort in something simply because we've already invested in it, even when it no longer makes sense to do so. By recognizing this bias, Debelly encourages readers to focus on current evidence and future benefits rather than past costs. Availability bias. This bias leads us to rely on information that comes easily to mind, often due to recent events or media coverage, which may not accurately represent reality. Debelly advises taking a step back to consider a broader range of information when making decisions. 2. Understanding heuristics. Heuristics are mental shortcuts that help us make quick decisions. While they can be useful, Debelly warns that they can also lead to errors, particularly in complex or unfamiliar situations. For example, the anchoring effect. This occurs when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information presented, the anchor, when making decisions, which can distort our judgment. For instance, if someone starts negotiating with an unreasonably high price, that number can influence our perception of what's reasonable, even if it's unrealistic. Representative heuristic. This is when people judge the probability of an event based on how similar it seems to their expectations, even if this is not logical. For instance, assuming someone is more likely to be a doctor than a farmer based on stereotypes rather than data. Debelly recommends looking at objective statistics and data rather than subjective impressions. Debelly advocates for mindful evaluation of information and data to avoid relying solely on shortcuts, as well as for knowing when these shortcuts might lead us astray. 3. The importance of rational thinking. Clear thinking, according to Debelly, involves actively questioning assumptions, separating facts from emotions, and systematically evaluating information. He argues that rationality is not about eliminating emotions but rather understanding when emotions are clouding judgment. Distinguishing facts from interpretations. Often, people conflate their interpretations of a situation with the facts. Debelly advises readers to be aware of this tendency and to clearly differentiate between objective data and subjective interpretations. Using logic and evidence, Debelly suggests building decisions on concrete evidence rather than assumptions or feelings. This means taking the time to gather relevant information, analyze it carefully, and draw conclusions that are logically sound. 4. Developing awareness and mental discipline. Debelly emphasizes that the path to clear thinking requires ongoing awareness of these biases and a commitment to mental discipline. He suggests several techniques for building this awareness and discipline: mindful reflection. Taking time to reflect on one's decisions and the thought processes behind them can help identify recurring patterns of biased thinking. Debelly encourages journaling or discussing decisions with others as ways to gain insight into personal cognitive traps. Seeking diverse perspectives, exposure to different viewpoints challenges biases and broadens understanding. Debelly advises readers to actively seek out opposing opinions, as this can highlight blind spots in one's thinking. Regularly challenging beliefs. Debelly encourages questioning even long-held beliefs and assumptions, especially in light of new evidence. This practice helps to foster a growth mindset and adapt thinking as knowledge and circumstances evolve. 5. Practical applications of clear thinking. Debelly includes practical examples of how clear thinking can be applied in various areas of life. Personal decision-making. In personal life, clear thinking helps individuals make balanced, well-considered choices that align with their values and goals. For instance, when faced with a career decision, rather than relying on gut feelings or superficial factors, Debelly suggests weighing the pros and cons based on long-term objectives. Professional success. In the workplace, clear thinking is essential for sound judgment, effective problem-solving, and strategic planning. Debelly gives examples of how business leaders and professionals benefit from avoiding biases, particularly in high-stakes situations. Financial choices. Clear thinking helps people make rational financial decisions by focusing on evidence and probability rather than emotions or trends. Debelly points out how cognitive biases, such as herd mentality and loss aversion, can lead to poor financial choices, and he offers strategies for overcoming them. Conclusion: embracing a life of clear thinking. Debelly concludes that the pursuit of clear thinking is a lifelong endeavor that involves continuous self-awareness, discipline, and a commitment to questioning assumptions. He urges readers to remain vigilant against biases and to cultivate a rational, evidence-based approach to decisions. By recognizing and addressing the cognitive biases and mental traps that obscure judgment, individuals can make more rational, effective choices and navigate life's challenges with greater clarity. Ultimately, clear thinking offers readers tools for self-improvement, helping them develop the habits necessary for a thoughtful, balanced approach to life.